to, have a hopefully smooth and successful season logistically. Along with reminding you guys of the number of resources that we have available for probably all sorts of questions or things that might come up during the season. So I will get started here. So just quick agenda. You guys can all read for yourselves, but I'll just start with a quick introduction. I'm Jing. I'm the director of leagues and events for GNLL. I've been in my role for about 8.5 seasons now. And I also have KK here presenting with me as well tonight. If you want to give a quick.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So I have been with GNLL. This is my second season and our second season doing girls. So super excited about that. And just kind of want to make sure everybody's on the same page as far as like how the spring should be going and make sure you guys know where everything is. So excited to get you guys this information this evening.
Cool. So the first thing we're going to touch on is we have a number of resource pages available through GNLL. Some of you guys might be aware of this. I'm sure many people are not. So this is a great place to start looking for information. So, okay. So when you click that, it brings us to GNL Leagues Event Requirement and Resource homepage. This actually can be found if you go to Leagues and then just find GNLL and click the initial page. Okay, and then from here we have a number of different tabs, right, touching on player requirements. If you guys, this gives a little explanation on why we need those player online registrations each season. Here is where you also find your age waiver down request forms for boys and girls. Reminder that as of fall of 2024, we do not need those waiver ups if kids are playing up one division. That's at the association's discretion. So this is only if they're looking to play down a division. And then along with our updated player geography waiver request form and submission area. So that's what you'll find for the player requirements and resources. Going back to that main page, same with coaches requirement and resources. I know our coaches certification process can be a little daunting maybe at first for people who haven't done it before. There is a lot of information, but hopefully, we provide an easy to understand area here. So this coaches training and certification guide has a step-by-step checklist. So if you guys click on that, so if you're still struggling to get certified, this should provide all that information that you need to be able to do that successfully. Okay, so that is all found in the coaches portion, along with the links to obviously, our rules books, both the USA Lacrosse and then our GNLL specific rules. Most of it aligns, but it's good to get those rule comparison and summary charts for easy reference. So we have those comparison charts for boys and girls here. And then our respective boys and girls grade books. This is where you can check are certified or not. Okay, so we're still in the process of updating this. I know we had listed last Friday as the deadline, ideally a week before the start of your first game is what we're aiming for. We know that teams start at different times in the season, so there is a little flexibility there, but please make sure you are working on getting your coaches certified. And then this is also where we have our boys and girls officials feedback forms. We'll touch a little bit more in depth on that later, but that is how.
Can I hop in real quick? Because I know this happened last year, that if you have coaches that are coaching both boys and girls, they do need to be certified in the respective area. And so make sure that if you have somebody doing that they are, if they're just an assistant coach on both, that they're bronze level certified in boys lacrosse and bronze level certified in girls, because there are different modules that they go through, and it is a different game. So we want to make sure that they're certified within the right gender.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks, KK.
Yeah.
And then, I know a number of your guys' coaches obviously, have coached other sports and completed some of these requirements, such as concussion training and safe sport. Those people can email myself and I can get them connected with USA Lacrosse, who has to directly put it on their certification or verify it, and then add it to their USA Lacrosse account. So I cannot do that, but I will get them in touch. And hopefully, if it is valid, then they can skip that part of redoing it within USA Lacrosse, but they'll have to email us at that training manager email that's listed in those documents. All right. Going back to the resources, we also have our league playing rules. This just houses, we run a number of different leagues. This kind of houses all of our different rules there if you're ever referencing, for other seasons as well. Our host site responsibilities, we'll touch a little bit more in depth on this later on the slide, but this is a great place to find. We have a checklist for host sites, as well as outlining their responsibilities. We have some score sheets that you guys can use as a reference to print out if you'd like, as along with our field diagrams here that we helped mark where the cones should go. I know that can be a little confusing, or people might not remember. We do need, you guys to mark the boundaries, restraining lines for girls lacrosse. And then the boys one is a little different. So we have those diagrams marked in here for your guys' reference. And then our association leader resources. This just has our annual meeting slide deck, along with our certificate of insurance link, which you guys can use for your field rentals if needed. And then the GNLL grant application forms are also here as well. And then the last section is just the team manager responsibility. As a reminder that your team managers are responsible for making sure that all of your players are rostered. And then it shows there's a little guide here if they need help on how to view your rosters or how to invite players to that, along with our game score report forms here that are different for girls and boys. So those are two different links. Those are also included in our weekly admin emails that go out every Tuesday for Spring and Summer League. So, we do link, my emails are for the boys, KK's is for the girls, and that does have your respective link for girls and boys. All right. Do we have any initial questions about our resources pages? Hopefully, if you guys were not aware that we had those, hopefully that'll be a good, resource for you guys to find helpful information if you guys have questions about things. And then a big piece, our operating policies are linked on the main resource page as well. I'll go back to that real quick. If you have specific questions about team requirements, player eligibility, most of that should be addressed in our operating policies. And actually, I just realized, Megan, do you mind help updating the new one on there? Sorry, that's still linking the old one. So Megan helped clean up. The new one is a lot easier to find the information, so we'll get that linked properly. But like I said, a lot of those detailed questions that you might have about coach requirements, player requirements, or what are the penalties if things are not followed, that's going to be touched on in our operating policies. So like I said, Megan will help update the proper link to our new one that you can reach here. That'll be a lot easier to find all those those headers through that document. So that should be available for you guys shortly if you need that. All right. I will go a little more in depth here now about host site requirements. So like I said, you can read a little bit more. We have those checklists and everything on that resource page. Just a reminder that we should have an on-site manager for the games played on your site, making sure that you guys have the correct field linings and cones. So you need 7 cones for boys fields, 10 for girls. For the full field, we do have the small unified field diagrams on there as well for you guys. So I can pull that up real quick. So that one is just 7 because the girls don't have restraining lines for small unified. So that's the 8s and 10s. Well, 6, 8s, 10s. Okay, so like I said, you'll have all those diagrams for reference if you do have questions about that. So making sure that you guys have the correct field lining and cones is really important. Another piece is that parents are 10 yards back from the sidelines if possible. This just helps remove some of the pressure from the officials and also the players as well. So that's an easy way, we found to help mitigate Some of that, parents can get really excited, which is great, but sometimes it's not always positive. So working to do that. And then making sure as a host site that you guys know where to find your EMT officials and team contact information. And really, this is not just your host site, but everyone. So just a reminder, that is found on the master scheduling document. So just walking through here. So we are still working on getting this completely updated. As you can see, we are still missing a number of contacts. So we'll want to, KK and I will be following up with programs. We should follow up with them tomorrow, making sure that we are filling in all of these coaches and team manager slots, making sure that there's at least one phone number for every team. But here is where you'll find the coach contact information or a host site. And then we will be adding a tab every Friday. So it's not up there right now, but that will then contain the EMT and the officials schedules for that upcoming weekend. So we don't upload that too early because obviously things can change throughout the week. And that's where you guys will be able to find who is supposed to be officiating and being an EMT at a field. Remember, EMTs are only for boys 12 and 14U games at this time. But then officials, if you need to contact someone who is not at your field when they should be. So that will be a new tab that is added and updated each Friday before that weekend's games. So that's something all coaches should know where to find that information, not just host sites necessarily. Because some sites have multiple fields, right? That's a lot for one person or whoever to help manage. And then also knowing who the GNLL director on call is. We have that in our admin email each week. We rotate between KK, Megan, and I just so that we have a couple weekends off of fielding anywhere from 0 to 400 phone calls about issues. So. And then also something that is really helpful for host sites to have is that scoring binder with the copy of score sheets and rules and a field diagram. That's not required, that's optional, but it is helpful for people that are scoring from 10U and up to have that for reference, aside from just a scoreboard. Do you have any questions about that, about host site requirements? Balls, I guess I can touch on that and I will update the slide. I didn't touch on that. So teams are just supposed to provide their own end line balls. We do not ask that host sites, provide all the balls for the games that day. So that's pretty standard. I think teams are pretty aware of that one, but I will add that to the slide later. KK, anything to add?
No, not that I can think of. I think just emphasizing that we want, if you're hosting multiple games and it's outside of just your own teams, I know like some people host for, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, that we do want you to have a host site, somebody there in case there is something that is wrong with the fields. Teams that are visiting don't necessarily know what they need to do if there's inclement weather, where to go. If there is an issue with a parent or a fan, that you would be the one to help like escort them off and make sure that they are leaving. So just I'm really emphasizing that when you're hosting that you should have somebody on site there to help out the whole time.
All right, moving on. So we have our home and away game procedures. This is just a reminder that in Turning Machine, we designate the top team when you're on your phone and then the left team on the web as the home team. I believe when you look at it on the web, it does say home. Yeah, on the web, it does say home and away, but it does not in the mobile. So the example here, the top example is mobile. So the top team here is our home team. Minnetonka's away, and then the web does say home and away here. So that's sometimes people get confused about. It does matter for AP, alternating possession, goes the away team if there's no coin toss, and generally the home team wears white, just so you guys know the procedures for that. Oh, and sorry, I did touch on end line balls here. Anything you can think of, KK? Okay, that was a pretty quick yeah. Easy one, but just wanted to remind everyone. All right, and then again, we touched on certification, touched on this again briefly. Everything, the guide on how to get certified is all available on that Coach Resources webpage. And then along with our coaches' grade books that you guys can click on to check if your coaches or you yourself as a coach are certified or not. Like I said, ideally it was April 4th or a week before the first game. I mean, the drop deadline is before your first game, right? We just wanted to encourage everyone to be proactive and to get it done ahead of time. If your program is a summer only, which should not be any of you guys on this call, that would be June 2nd. And then we have that training manager at greatnorthernlacrosse.com, which is where you would send your certification and or if you have any questions about that. KK, do you want to do this one?
Sure. Yeah, so there is the links to the spring and summer league form for scoring. So making sure that you're doing the correct gender to the right place. We do, there's 3 of us in the office, so we can usually figure it out if it does get input incorrectly. But just noting that there are different forms, and then making sure that each team manager is putting it in, because I know sometimes there can be discrepancies. So making sure that each team is submitting a score. I think we want it between like 24 hours. So usually by like the Monday, since in the spring the games are on the weekend, we'll put them in on Mondays and Tuesdays and then follow up if we don't get anything. We do not keep scores for 6U and 8U. So if you are coaching that age level, you don't have to worry about keeping score or reporting it to us, because we do not enter it into Turning Machine at all. And then if there is any issues, you can just reach out to myself for any girls scores and Jing for any boys scores. And we will make those fixes. And then just a reminder that each team should provide a parent at each game. So ideally there's 2 parents at the table, one from team A, one from team B. One of them is keeping time, and then the other one is focused on keeping score. And then Jing showed earlier those score sheet examples if you would like to print those out, but otherwise you can just use a blank piece of paper and make the tallies. But I think a little more standardized is easier for the parent volunteers that you have sitting there keeping score throughout the day.
Great. I'm just going to share a score sheet option real quick.
Oh, yeah.
So this is one of the ones we list. It's pretty generic, very similar to the ones that we use for our leagues and tournaments. Second option that we have on the website is one like this. You guys, if your association already has one that you guys have been using, or you have an actual scorebook, like a lacrosse scorebook, you guys are welcome to use that as well. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Again, it's not required, but it is, encouraged, and it's definitely helpful. I'm sure the people taking score, I'm sure they find it helpful. Great. So new to this season specifically is an actual misconduct form. Before we kind of collected this just by email, which is great in the sense that, I wasn't overwhelmed with misconduct emails throughout the season, although I'm sure I didn't, people weren't reporting everything that happened on the field. But we are formalizing it starting this season just so we can collect it all in one place. So this is just for, players, coaches, and or spectators during games that are violating GNLL policies in regards to, behavior that, should not be happening. So you guys can find that form. I'll double check where that is housed. I might have to update where it's housed, but we'll let you guys know later. But again, just very generic stuff, collecting your information on the game, and then information on, what the issue was. Once that's completed, if it has to do with the official, we will be sending that to the official's assigner, who will take a look at it, circle back with us, and then we'll connect with you guys. If it has to do with another team's coach and or player, we'll, we will contact that organization to get a little more information and then circle back. So you guys will get follow-ups from us, regarding any submissions to this misconduct form, along with whether or not any suspensions or other disciplinary action, will be associated with that. I actually do want to touch on games where it's specifically about an ejection. The misconduct form doesn't need to be submitted because the officials are required to submit one. And so we'll follow up from that. I actually do need to clarify, KK, if we can make sure we clarify that with MLUA, because this is standard operating procedure on the boys side, but we need to make sure that the girls officials are on the page. Yep. Great. Does anyone have any questions about that? Dave? You're on mute. Do you want to unmute yourself? Dave? Okay. We'll circle back if he raises his hand again.
Yeah.
All right. So the next piece, kind of in line with that misconduct form, is the official's complaint and or compliment procedure. The compliment part is something that, you know, we do want to emphasize a little bit more, because obviously people mostly like to complain when it's negative about negative things, but, you know, officiating and coaching, you know, are hard jobs. So we want to encourage, you know, if you have an outstanding official as well, to fill out an evaluation form. So we have them linked. That was under the coaches resources, boys and girls officials evaluation form. Again, those will be shared with the respective assigners for the men's or women's officials associations, and then we'll follow up with you as needed. Anything to add there, KK?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay. Great. Do you want to touch on this one?
Yeah, so it has been in, I think, at least 2 of our emails, and I know some people have already taken it, so that is awesome. But this year we are partnering with Certified Lacrosse Parents. So they are an organization that has created a parent training, and it's about a 15-minute online course video that your parents can watch, and it teaches them kind of like how to be a good parent, how to be a good fan, what appropriate sideline behavior should be, and it is pretty great. So we're really excited about that. And like I said, we're covering that cost for parents this year for anybody that participates in a GNLL league. So they can just click the link below. It's been included in the emails that have gone out, and it will continue to go out. And then the coupon code is just GNLL that they'll type in there. And we are able to track who has taken it. So I know there are a couple of associations that are requiring it of all of their parents. So we will be able to get that information for you. I know like St. Louis Park is one. And so we can keep track of all of the parents that have taken it and then give that information to you so you can cross-reference and make sure that all your parents are taking it. And we will have a little prize pack to give out to the association that has the most completions. And we'll probably make that like a percentage of how many teams you have, just because I know like there's a couple associations that are a little bit bigger than some other ones. But like we'll have it make sure that it's fair and it's not just like the biggest association is going to win, but just kind of a little incentive for you guys to encourage your parents. And at the end of the day, we want our kids to have a good experience so they come back every year and keep playing, because we love the sport of lacrosse. And sometimes bad sideline behavior from parents and parent behavior just in general can be a turnoff to kids. So we want to try to create and foster that environment for them. So we're really excited about this and hope that we can continue to do this in the future as well.
Awesome. Real quick, I do want to address Dave's previous question. So he just typed it in the message. He said he was just wondering if there are examples of misconducts that were required reporting but weren't ejections. And I just said, you know, sometimes that's misconduct that wasn't caught by officials. You know, they obviously can't see everything, hear everything that happens during a game. And sometimes, unfortunately, things happen between people outside of a game that should be addressed by the league. So those are kind of the examples that kind of come to mind. Do you have anything to add on that, KK?
No, I think it's, you know, of things that have happened in the past, it's usually like players talking inappropriately to each other, or to saying stuff under their breath that like the officials won't hear, and stuff like that. So it's not something that the officials catch, so it doesn't lead to an ejection, but still behavior that we don't want to have happening in our leagues.
Great. All right, that's you again.
Yeah, so over the last couple months, we have held some virtual sessions and they have gone really well. And they are now living on our website. So the link below will send you to our virtual sessions. And those are them. And all the videos now live on YouTube. So you can click the link to watch the session and it will take you over to our YouTube page to be able to watch them live. So this is a great thing to share with your coaches. There's sections for them, like every girls, or there's a girls offensive session, there's a girls defensive session, there's transition, there's the equivalent on the boys side, minus the boys offensive video didn't record and we had some issues with that. So I included some YouTube videos of the guy that presented. So there's some really helpful YouTube videos of his that he already had done that I linked to there. But they're really awesome. So I would really encourage you to go through and watch them if it pertains to you, or pass that along to your coaching staff if you're a director. And maybe even like you're halfway through the season and you are like stuck and you need some ideas, they're really helpful to watch and just kind of get ideas on teaching the X's and O's of the sport. And then also still some advanced topics in there for you if you've been coaching for a few years and you just feel like you need a little update or refresh. So I would highly encourage you to do that. They were pretty great. And they're all free. So nothing better than that. And then the other thing I'm really excited about is we are doing coaching office hours. So this is something like similar to your professor's office hours in school, if you were in college or some even high schools. But we will have every Monday from 11 to 12, there will be one of our staff members that is a women's coach or girls coach in a Google Meet, and your coaches can just hop on the call and ask us any questions that you have about coaching. So if you need a drill idea, or like your kids just can't pick up ground balls, like what do you do? Just give us, hop in on the Google Meet. It's the same link every single week. And we'll be there to help you troubleshoot. And then the boys sessions are every Tuesdays from 11 to 12. So same time, just different days. So we made sure that if coaches were coaching both genders, they would still be able to get on those calls. So they just started this past week and they will continue through the week of the spring state tournament. So for the girls, the last week is Memorial Day week. So we'll probably push that Monday out until Tuesday because nobody wants to work on Memorial Day. And then for the boys, it'll be that following Tuesday. So I believe that's June 3rd. Just make sure you guys have some ways to get some help. And I know not everybody has a great lacrosse background, and we have a wealth of knowledge between all of us on staff. So we really want to make sure that we're helping coaches and wanting to help as much as we can. So hop on those sessions and ask all of your questions. They can even be just like team dynamics and how to deal with team dynamics. We're here to help and really are excited about this project.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. The last thing we have on deck is just a refresher for associations that play both spring and summer. So just a reminder, the hosting availability form is still required to be done, since obviously, we collected your guys' hosting information for weekend games in the spring, whereas in the summer we're playing Monday through Thursday. So all associations that play in the summer still need to complete this. This is linked directly here along with on our summer field respective boys and girls websites. The thing that we do try to help you guys do administratively is register your teams for you. So you don't have to go through and register, your 6, 8, 10 teams. We will do that for you. So the key piece here is that a regular team registration is due by April 26th. So KK and I will be working on registering your summer teams on Monday following that deadline. So if your teams are going to be different in the spring than summer, whether that's more or less teams, you have to email us by April 26th. We obviously still work with you guys to add or remove teams after that, but there will be, a late team fee unless you guys are, in communication with us about needing, trying to get just a few more numbers or whatever, right? We are pretty flexible about that. Please just work on communicating with us if you are unsure exactly of what your numbers will be closer to that time. But again, please let us know by April 26th, if possible, if your teams are going to be different. So just shoot us an email, if it's going to be different for spring or summer. We will send a summer league admin email, early May with all the teams that we currently have listed. So obviously you'll get a chance to review and make corrections there if needed, but please help us save some work on the front end there. Does anyone have any questions about that piece? We will just register the team onto whoever was the registrar for the spring. So they will also receive all the summer registration. So if for some reason that needs to change, then you should also let us know by April 26th if we should be registering it on someone else's account prior to that. We generally do not create QuickBooks invoices for the summer. We can. So if you do need a QuickBooks invoice, I can update the slide after. You can let me know. I handle those, but generally, with this one, it's a set number of games. So the fee is a set amount. So like I said, we just register it into the person who you guys do need a QuickBooks invoice. We're happy to provide that. You will just need to email to ask for that to be sent to you. Awesome. Other than that, like I said, thank you so much for hopping on this call. We didn't want to take up too much of your time, but just wanted to touch on these things. We'll make all of this available shortly after this in video and just in the PDF document. So this time, we're done with what we had on the agenda. Does anyone have any questions or items for discussion? If you don't, you are welcome to leave. Again, thank you guys so much for making the time to be on tonight.
Yeah, I just shared for any of you that are girls coaches, there is the Tucker Center at the University of Minnesota puts on a women coaches symposium it's actually in the beginning of May, so May 2nd. So I just put the link in there. I have gone I think I've been 8 of the 10 years. They're just celebrating their 10th anniversary this year. And it is awesome. So it's for people that coach like all the way, girls from youth all the way up to college. So there's a lot of networking opportunities and a lot of great information there. So I would strongly encourage you guys to go if you have any interest. And I put the link in the what is that? Whatever that thing's called.
In call messages.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks for hopping on, guys. Have a great season. We're excited to see you at the state tournament in the spring.